Tancha Kiowa, hello, how are you all? Welcome to Homelands, originally broadcast on CFCR Community Radio 90.5 FM in Saskatoon, Homelands of the Métis and Treaty 6 Territory, CFCR.ca. This is your favorite auntie, Andrea Letting Dijni Kashun. My name is Andrea Letting. Call me Auntie Andy if you like, and I'll be your host over this next half hour. I am part settler, part relative, and 100% ally and relation to everyone. I'm just me, not a card-carrying member of any Indigenous nation, but I am loved, adopted, related to, and accepted by many. Rejected by a few, but haters gonna hate, relators gonna relate. I am blessed to have Indigenous relations in my family and secretly may love them a little bit more than all the rest, only because they are the first peoples of this land who welcome all the guests. But I also have Irish and Scandinavian, along with a little bit of mystery, and that's the way I was raised, strongly decolonial and justice-oriented, with a big related heart for all. I most empathized with my Batoche Métis friends and family and that history and culture growing up, and as an adult have continued to try to live that meal permits when that beautiful good life. So from the fringes of the sash, I situate myself as a relative and an ally and welcome you, my listeners, as brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, cousins in the Homelands. So let's welcome our relative tonight. So we have with us Aren Okeymaysim, who is an actor, a musician, and all kinds of things. And he's gonna, tell a little bit about himself. So let's turn it over to you, Aren. Go ahead.
Well, Tante Kio Nitsiko pa Yenanak Nipsiuma Aren Okeymaysim Nisigasin and so my name's Aren Okeymaysim. I'm from Beardy's and Okemasis Cree Nation up in Treaty 6 territory, and I'm currently residing in Treaty 4 territory in Regina. And this is where I've been working for the past 5 years as a theater professional. So as Andrea mentioned, I'm an actor, musician, kind of a little bit of everything. And currently I'm the head of sound at the Globe Theater in Regina. And so when I'm not doing that, I play music. And when I'm not playing music, I do this. Or if I can find time to act, I do that as well. And yeah, I'm very happy to be talking about the work that I do.
That's awesome, Aren. Yeah, so very, very much welcome to you. And of course, I've known you for many years. I know your mom really well, and your brothers, and of course your family. So that's really cool. Yeah, and of course I have adopted relatives out at Beardy's and stuff like that. So yeah, and it's nice and close to the city. So one of the closer reserves besides Whitecap, and of course One Arrow's around there too. So yeah, in the Batoche area, of course. Very close. So yeah, so welcome. And do you want to start with your music, talk a little bit about the style and what got you into music, and maybe about songwriting, whatever, kind of wherever you want to dive in.
Sure. Yeah, so the music I've been playing for well over a decade now. I kind of got started with heavy metal music and thrash metal with playing with my older brother and our friend, and so I did that for quite a long time, and then I started branching into other things. I got involved in other types of music through school or otherwise. And eventually, somewhere along the way, I started writing my own stuff. And I never really knew what I wanted to do with it. I just enjoyed writing it. I never had a purpose for it. I just enjoyed it. And when the pandemic came along, I was like, I have all this time, and I'm gonna just take the music that I have and just record it. And I just figured out how to do everything myself. I made a rough demo for myself in my mom's garage, and then from there, I used that material to apply for grants and everything. I'm very grateful to have gotten some financial support from Sask Arts Board. So I want to give them a shout out. I was able to record my debut album over this past summer. So it's the music project. I ended up calling it Ogama, which is the Plains Cree word for chief or leader. Or it's got a lot of different meanings, connotation, depending on how you look at it. But I really just liked the word. It sounded cool and in my language. So even better. I think it just speaks to kind of the types of words that I want to say in my music. What else can I say? And then during the pandemic, when I was creating it and writing it, I just felt compelled and the need to just get it out because I felt like it was the right time. The timing was right. And if I don't do it now, I'm not gonna get a chance to do it when theater life gets busy, because it's already really busy again now. And I'm really glad that I was able to record it when I did. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, so what kind of style would you say it was? So you started kind of in metal, and then is it kind of like like rock or blues or pop or combination or folk, or kind of how would you describe it? What genres?
Yeah, so exactly that. For this music, for Ogama, it's I started with very folk elements, like a lot of the lyrical content and very much rooted in kind of social commentary. So yeah, I'd say folk, and then rock elements and blues for sure. So just using my musical comfort zones, I guess, to express how I feel. And yeah, so yeah, more, yeah, folk rock blues.
Right on. And so tell us a little bit about maybe like some of the songs, like what was the inspiration and what is your songwriting process and what are some of your influences, that kind of thing.
Um, in terms of what I like to write about, what influences me, just things that really come from how I feel about a lot of things in society and about myself and my relationships with people and the land, um, and the place that I grew up in. You know, as an Indigenous person, I have a very complicated relationship with Saskatchewan, but it's also home. So, you know, for example, the song Highway 11, it's nostalgic. It's there's a bit of there's like a subtle hint of, you know, acknowledging a bit of the history there, but in the people here, but it's also, it's just accepting the place for what it is. It's home. You know, can't change the history, but I can tell people how I feel, and that's, you know, that's how the song came about. And it sort of is like that for all my other songs. Um, so things like topics ranging from like missing and murdered Indigenous women, and I think that was more of a that song, Slow Dancer, was more of a kind of like the inspiration I get from my mom, because she does a lot of work with missing and murdered Indigenous women, and advocacy, and works with families to kind of for support in a lot of different ways. And, you know, really inspired by that. And, you know, a lot of that kind of work I'm not totally comfortable with, or like I'm not well equipped with, but I know how to feel about it, and I know what how to express how that feels through music. So I figured that that's the best way I can help, is offer that. Um, and then of course, you know, I write about everything else, like love, loneliness, mental health issues as well. So yeah, just kind of a lot of, I try to keep it relatable, and but also I try to keep it close to home and Saskatchewan oriented.
So when you start, I mean, what's your usual starting point? Do you, like, besides, you know, obviously you get some kind of inspiration or idea or feeling or that kind of thing. Do you usually start with a lyric? Do you usually start with chords? Do you start with like a little piece of music that gets stuck in your head? Kind of how does the process come together for you?
Yeah, the majority of the time, I usually just kind of have like a bit of a chord progression, or I just kind of sit with it for a bit, and I'm like, okay, well, this sounds cool, and then maybe a bit of a melody, or maybe a certain lyrical phrase will pop up in my head, like, oh, this would probably sound cool. And then it's a bit of a snowball effect where I could kind of just keep the lyrics going as I'm writing the chord progression, or I think there's only one instance where I wrote the music entirely first before the lyrics, and that was the song Magic Mirror. I was sitting on that chord progression for actually over 10 years, and I didn't know what to do with it. And when I was recording that demo, I recorded it, and I was like, okay, well, there's this music, I should write lyrics to it. So it kind of gave me a nice little structure to sit on top of, and then So that was an interesting challenge for me that I'm not used to. So that's one of the exceptions to my writing comfort zone, I guess.
And so tell us a little bit about like, so when you put that demo together, like I know like I like for Homelands for the radio program, I use Audacity to edit on my computer, right, to do the radio and throw the zoom on the YouTube. It's pretty standard. But so what kind of equipment did you use? What kind of how did you manage that, and what was that process like?
Well, over the years, as a musician, we tend to collect a lot of what the partners call junk, or yeah, I collected some home recording gear, like nothing like crazy over the top, but good enough to just get the job done. And so like a nice professional grade microphone, things like that, and like an interface and the software I used for the editing and everything is Ableton Live, the kind of more for sound design and kind of DJ kind of stuff. But I thought it was just really intuitive and I liked it, so stuck with that.
So did you do all the tracks yourself? Like, were you doing like yeah, you did everything like drums and guitar and bass?
Yeah, for the demo, yes. So I started with like a rough acoustic playthrough of all the songs, and then around the acoustic skeleton track, we would call it, is I started building elements around it. So I added the bass guitar, or then the drums, and I never really had like a method to it. I just, like, all the bass guitar parts I actually did in that 2-week period. I had no bass parts before that, and I just wrote them while recording, and it was a really nice challenge to myself to just get right in there and get intimate with my music, and make it extrapolate more on what it could be. But for the album itself, I should mention that I recorded it at Soul Sound recording studio in Regina here, with Orion Beardy's great guy, and also did the mixing as well. I want to give him a shout out. And so for this album, I actually got some friends to record the individual instruments. So basically what they did is just replace the parts that I previously recorded and did it better because they're dedicated to that instrument.
Right on. That was actually going to be my next question, like the, like kind of the rough cut as opposed to kind of the studio album and how that kind of came all together. So that's really cool. Yeah, so we're about, almost about halfway through kind of our interview here on Homelands on CFCR, and Aren Okeymaysim telling us a little bit about his album, his recording process. It's called Ogama. Now, is that your band name as well as the album name, or what is?
Yeah, it's the album name and the project name. Because I don't really have a band quite yet. Like, I mean, might just get the guys that I recorded. But it's a bit of a process. Like, the way I'm treating this project is that it's my personal thing. It's going to be whenever I'm done with it, and I'm in no rush to really grind it out, I guess, in a way. Yeah.
It's a great pandemic project, right? And I mean, it's pretty cool to make your own album and get that validation from a Sask Arts grant as well, like some funding as well, and then go through the professional studio process as well as the home recording process. What kind of things have you learned from all of this, and like what advice would you have to like other young musicians who are wanting, particularly Indigenous musicians?
Mm-hmm. So doing that demo by myself, and then kind of organizing the crew and the recording process, it was actually literally my first time navigating that process and leading it entirely myself, and that was a huge learning curve. And I felt like I grew so much in the last year just doing all of that. It's like producing, it's a whole other thing. You're looking at the bigger picture constantly, and it also allowed me to kind of let go of a lot of personal attachments to a lot of the music I would be making. So when I got into the studio, there's a lot of sacrifices I had to make due to budget constraints and time. and I gotta hit these marks, and I gotta do it now. I can't, I can't. I gotta be prepared. So that's the first piece of advice I would give to people. Just always be prepared and know your music so well that you could just go into the studio and just lay it out, but not just simply lay it out, but you got to feel it. You got to perform in the studio as if you're in front of an audience. It's not enough to know the material. Yeah, you really got to know it. But thankfully, I knew all the songs. I knew where I wanted to go with them, and that also really helped in the production process and leading it. Is that I kind of knew what to tell the musicians. This is kind of what I'm going for. This is what I want, and just being very clear, and also understanding as well, and flexible. Being able to be flexible with the people that you're working with is the most vital tool in any creative process, in my opinion. And being able to make those sacrifices in that creative game, because I don't know all the answers to my music, and these other musicians or the engineers, they'll have different perspectives. They'll tell me things that I don't know, and and I listen to that and I hear it and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's new. That it actually makes it better. So being able to let go of that strict control, I guess, is really important.
Yeah, it's more fun with collaborative processes anyways, right? Just to get
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
extra feedback and that extra energy and everything.
Yeah. Well, and truthfully, I don't know where I'd be without that collaborative feedback, because I'm throughout my life, I'd been so reliant on other people telling me or giving me directions. Like, as an actor, directors are giving me actions all the time, and I'm a facilitator. I'm not a lead. I'm not a creative lead normally. So it was different to kind of switch that around, and yeah.
That's a great segue. So do you want to talk a little bit about maybe how performing as an actor kind of prepared you for musical performing and recording and that kind of thing? And then of course your experience as a sound person as well. Like you said, you're at Globe Theatre doing sound, and kind of like how you got into acting. Just kind of maybe start there and kind of go through all of that a little bit.
So the acting thing was an accident. I was about to go to university, and I was kind of working. I worked like a random job at like a summer student position at Shakespeare on Saskatchewan. And one of the actors mentioned that I should take a class in university and just see what it's like. So I did, and I ended up loving it and got attached to it and just rolled with it. And so I went to school for about 5 years, and unfortunately haven't finished my degree quite yet. But I mean, it's kind of weird with acting. If you get the work, you follow the work, and you just don't stop. So it's kind of, I'm kind of grateful for that reality of the industry, but I just kick myself on the butt and finish that degree one of these days. I only got a few classes left.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
But yeah, the acting thing. Then I moved to Regina in 2016 and was getting professional work through the globe and across Canada. And the snowball kept rolling with that. And then somewhere along the way, I just kind of got myself back into the audio stuff as well. And then it was kind of sidelined with the music as well. So it's like those two things were running parallel together, like during the pandemic. So everything just kind of lended to each other, and yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I know, like, I've worked with your brother Corey on shows as well, and he does sound as well. Yeah, I think he did the sound for Dominion, if I'm not mistaken. So my place. So yeah. So it's kind of cool that it's like a family thing. And did you ever do the GTNT Circle of Voices or anything like that, or the Gordon Tatusis Naganawan Theater? Or I know you've acted.
I've acted for them in 2016, but since then I haven't been able to kind of attend or really do a lot because of my work in Regina. When you work in theater, unfortunately, you miss so much other people's things. and it kind of sucks because I want to support everyone, but you know, you just miss things, and it's the reality. Or I did get to see their one show over the summer on the Shakespeare site, so that was cool. Yeah, that was a good show.
Was that the Shadows Among the Prairies, or?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Jen's been on the show as well, talking about that, and Carol Gray
Mhm.
Eyes as well. So yeah,
Mhm.
so people can go back and look at that one on the channel as well. Yeah. So how did the two? You've kind of talked about it a little bit, but how do acting and music? How do they go together well, and how do they what different skills kind of lend themselves to each other?
So with the acting, like on a purely a technical level, we like to use our focus on the flexibility of our bodies. Our body is our main tool to express the story, to embody the character, and to embody the emotions in any given moment in the story, and that really lends itself to storytelling and music. It's a really finding that, digging into that emotional place in your lyrics, and really just expressing that. And it's a full body thing, and it's great because in music it kind of allows you, but I mean, you're only restricted to just you playing the instrument or however you play your music. But I think it definitely lends itself at least the process of acting. And then on the other hand, music, the way it landed to my acting career is that a lot of my professional shows, I've played music in them, or some type of musical component was involved, because the directors had recognized my musical capabilities, so they wanted to highlight that. So it really helps in the theater world to just have a bit of that background, and then it makes you more hireable. And yeah, and it's also just really fun to play music when I'm acting too, because yeah, then it's both of my favorite things all piled into one.
Yeah, and I mean they're both performances, right? Like they're both,
Mhm.
you think of the musician on the stage, think of the actor on the stage, and like you said, it's like storytelling. You're doing things with your body as the instrument in both cases. I mean, as well as other, you get your props or your guitar or whatever. But yeah, so we're kind of like, we've still got like a couple of minutes left. What other thoughts did you kind of want to share with, like for example, your sound production, that kind of thing? You haven't gone into it too much. Like, could you talk a little bit about that? Because it's kind of like a less recognized skill, stagecraft aspect, but it's so important, right? So whether it's like the cues for thunder and lightning, or a phone ringing, or the music, the background music. So if you could just like talk a little bit about kind of what all is involved with that.
Yeah, so I guess in a theatrical sense, like with sound designing in live theater, that you're kind of facilitating the director's vision on how the world takes shape, and but specifically honing in on the audio sense. It's like audio isn't necessarily the first thing that people think about when they go to watch performances. So it's more felt and also heard. So if you're able to kind of invoke those feelings and the expressions that the director wants or the actors want in that moment, finding the right stuff to just insert in the right place and the right time, the right volume, the right EQ, the right everything, and if you do it right, the audience feels it. They and it's okay that they don't necessarily I guess focus on it, because that's not really the point of theater. You're gonna go watch the story, and if they're able to feel it and not notice that weird little noise in the background, then it's fine. You've effectively done your job as a sound designer.
Yeah, that's a great description of it, right? Like it's like one of those, like it's one of the senses that it adds so much to the performance. But like when you're watching a movie, for example, I mean, it builds the tension or it sets the mood, but you don't notice it. You don't go, oh, the music changed. I mean, sometimes you might go, oh, something's going to happen, very suspenseful, but for the most part, it's like a very subtle thing, but it cues us to kind of what's going on. And you think of like amazing orchestration for like Star Wars or Superman or like, all those great composers, right? And I can see how it would lend itself really well to giving you the skill set as well to be able to like create your own album as well, right? Where it's kind of, you're doing storytelling in a soundscape, but it's just the album kind of thing. So yeah, just kind of in the last, like, I don't know, a couple of minutes, do you want to kind of bring it back to the album and talk like just a few more, like where people can get it and kind of what to expect and yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Critical
sure.
acclaim, anything like that?
Yeah, so the album Okemaw came out on January 21st this year, and it's available on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon Music, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, all those good things. You also go to my website. It's not really much of a website. It's ogamawmusic.ca. And you can actually just download the songs in MP3 format directly from the website for free. And that's one big thing that I was really trying to make clear when I first promoted it was, I want it to be accessible. And so on Bandcamp, it's free. SoundCloud, it's free. So in any way you want to listen to it. There are plans for physical releases in the future, but yeah, it's not a priority at the moment. And eventually I'll let people know. And probably some shows over the summer. Haven't quite looked that far yet. It's a really busy season at the Globe. So I'm not sure if I'm allowed to announce it quite yet, but there's something coming up with Sask Music. It's like a filming showcase thing. So I'll be keeping the world updated on that, but I'm not sure it's officially announced yet. So
bit of a teaser.
yeah.
Keep your head up, check them out on social media. So do you have like Twitters or anything like that, or just go to the website? And how do you spell Okemaw? Is it I've seen it Okeimaw, and I've seen it Okemaw. So which way do you spell it?
Yeah, Okeimaw. Also can be found on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Right on. So yeah, so hit Aren up at those websites and social media places, Okemaw and okamawmusic.com. Check out the music. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Aren. It has been so awesome. Any like last closing kind of remarks or things that you want people to take away, or any last thoughts on being an Indigenous artist in Saskatchewan?
I guess like if you're going to listen to the music, I think the important thing is, I didn't really want it to be much about me or like my thoughts on the world, but I want people to reflect on the things that are going on around us and really take into heart the important subjects that are affecting people in a very real way. That's the main thing. And I also want people to interpret for themselves and have that freedom to think how they want to think about my music. It's not up to me to decide how people should feel. So, and I just want people to enjoy it. So, otherwise, I do want to give a shout out to Lance Knight. He's got some stuff coming up right away, and my buddy Forrest in the North Sound. I'm actually going to be seeing him at the Winterruption show with Julian Taylor this coming Saturday in Regina. So looking forward to that. I'm really happy to share finally my original music. So
That's awesome. Well, congratulations and thank you so much. So Kishi Marsito, our relative tonight, Aren Okeymaysim, Okemaw, and Niwagamaganak, all my relations. And believe me, we are all related, so act like you've got relations. This is Auntie Andy signing out from Homelands, originally produced on CFCR Community Radio 90.5 FM in Saskatoon, Homelands of the Métis, and Treaty 6 Territory, CFCR.ca. You can find us on Homeland on Twitter at Métis Homelands, or comments at métishomelands@gmail.com. View this on our YouTube channel, Homelands, and subscribe today. Marcy, thank you for listening. And Akoshi Kawapa Matino Almina. That's all. We'll see you later.